Welcome back to the shop. We've been out doing some tool scouting and want to share with you a little bit of what I found. Found some stuff while I was out at some flea markets and a pawn shop, but I also found some stuff stuffed in the back of an old drawer that I had a little box in, a wooden box. Didn't remember what was in there. Wanted to share that with you as well, and then what we found at the flea market. So come on down here on the workbench and let's take a closer look. So I got into a drawer where I had some things and I found these knives, and I thought it might be cool to look at these a little closer and check them out. This one here you recognize, most of you probably will. It's a Stanley. I guess they're made in US, says US right there, at least this one was, and it's got a nice little, most people call it a marking knife, but that's a replaceable razor blade, and they really work nice. The little release comes down here on the back, so you pull down on that and that folds right up. So really nice little knife. Then I found this one here. It's nothing special. It's one of the Winchesters that they used to sell sometime back. I always liked the shape of it. I like that little lanyard hole. Thing is, I never used the lanyard hole, but it was always there. I just like the shape of the knife, but it is not made. Yeah, I'm sure it's Chinese or Taiwanese. I'm not really sure. It does not say on the blade, but most of those Winchester knives were. Then I found this knife here. Always liked buck knives, and this one here I bought back in the, I think the early to mid 90s, and it's a buck. I wanted it for dress, but it is made in China. So it fit nicely in the pocket. It didn't take up a lot of room. So it was a nice little knife, and so I had that there. Also found these. Now these I bought probably in the early to mid 90s as well, and this one here is a Craftsman, made in the USA. This would have been before Sears went out of business, and Craftsman was still a company of Sears, and it was just a nice little knife. This one here worked as well, very nicely in the pocket, and wasn't bulky. Nice round edges, one sharp blade in there. It's all I needed. So that was a nice little knife that I had as well. Then I found this one. This one here is also a Craftsman, but it has 3 different blades, and just a nice little knife. And you can see there, it is also would have been purchased probably in the mid to early 90s, and it's just a nice little knife. A lot of times I use this blade more than anything. It just works so well. Had a really nice tip on it. It cut nicely, and I don't know, I just kind of saved this blade for, I don't know what I saved it for, but I just didn't want to mess this one up. But I always kept them sharp, and this was easy to keep sharp. I don't remember what kind of grind that is, but it's a full grind all the way up here with a small light bevel there. And so just a nice little knife. So it was fun to reminisce and go through some of those. Now I also today went to the pawn shop, and it's a new pawn shop, not new to me, but I have not recorded there before, and they gave me permission to. It was drivers, coins, collectibles, and commodities. You can see that here on the screen, and I got something there that I thought was pretty cool. Have you ever seen one of these? Do you know what it is? See all those multiple blades in there? It is cool. Now, something I had over here, you can see over here on the rack, was this one here. It does almost the same thing. So I wanted to bring you down here and show you exactly how it is used. All right, hoping you can see here what it is that I'm doing when you're wanting to join together two of these. And how do you do that? It will not go in there. And so what you got to do when you've got two of these is you've got to create a male end, and you have to crimp all of this all the way around. And so this one here is a crimper, and you go through and you just go and you crimp one at a time, and it starts pulling in the pieces and starts bringing them in tight. Now this one here, what's neat about it is you open that up and it does several at a time, and that brings that down tight, crimps that metal so that you can make it smaller so it will fit. You just keep going through here, lining it up, pulling that nice and tight. Come around here to the final side. We should now have an edge that is smaller all the way around, and it should fit very nicely right down in there. Isn't that cool? Now you've got a nice joint. So this was a nice fun little find. It says Malco, made in the USA, Davenport or downspout crimper C4. I'm not sure what that stands for, but it says that on both sides. Just a nifty little tool. So I like that. I like both of these. I think though this one here is going to go to my toolbox. I just think it's really handy. I don't think it's vintage at all. This one here would be closer to being vintage, so I do want to find a place for it up on the wall, and we'll display it. It's just a neat little tool, simple, basic, but durable. This one here says Pioneer Tool Company, Racine, Wisconsin. So hopefully you can see that right there. So we'll put that up on the wall. Now I had a chance as well to go to Jake's Antique, and at Jake's Antique there was another neat find that I thought was very cool, and it's this little wrench right here. So I don't know how many of you have ever seen one of these, but I looked at that and I thought, that's interesting. Started playing around with it, and take a look at that. How simple, how basic. Isn't that cool? So I want to bring you down here a little bit closer to the vise grip, and I want to demonstrate this, and I stole an idea from Scout Crafter. So hopefully he'll forgive me, but let's come down here and see how this thing works. I have seen a little device like this on Scout Crafter a couple of times, and I think his a little bit more robust than mine, but I think mine here will work for demonstration purposes. And you can see just how neat that little wrench is. It just pops right out there like that. Grab hold and turn. Bring it over here, turn. Over here and turn. You can take it, turn it all the way around, grab it back the other way, and turn it off. Isn't that cool? Now, I don't know. Yeah, it'll work for a screw that small as well. This is a 1/2 inch over here. This is I think a 15/16. So it works for something that's probably at least a 5/8. This is a little bit small for what it's intended, although it does seem to work. But I thought that was just so cool. And look at that nut gear wrench, and that's the trademark. Nut gear wrench, an 8 inch. I thought That was so cool. You can see here, forged steel. It says patented June 1st, 1926, I think it is right there. Now that's probably not when this was made, but it is when the patent was in place. It says Houston, Texas. I do want to put this on the wire brush and clean it up just a little bit, but I'm not going to do a whole lot to it because I think this is probably rather vintage. That is cool. All right, this doesn't look a whole lot different than it did before. I did clean it up a little bit and get some of the gunk off of it. Had a can of Marvelous Mystery Oil. It just seemed like the right thing to use on this little wrench, which seems awfully old and awfully ingenious. So anyways, we have that little wrench there that I'm going to be proud to add to our collection. So that was a lot of fun. Got some fantastic little tools. I don't know if it matters much to you, but I probably paid more for this than I have most of my other tools. This was $28, I think it was. But I felt like it was a really nice collectible. So we have a place over here on the wall where we want to display it. We can display it there proudly. And then I wanted to take this one here and go ahead and put it up on the wall. It's just something that I'm not going to use much, and I think it is a little older than the other one I found there. That other one seems to be very nice to use. So let's go put this one up here. Both of those can be displayed for future reference. Thank you so much for joining me on this. It is so much fun sharing these little outings with you as we go to some of the flea markets and the pawn shops and the antique stores and see what kind of treasures there are. There are some times when I will go through the Jake's. I go through it at least once a week usually. And there's like, has that tool been there all the time and I just missed it? There's just so many, and sometimes it's hard to find them. I've had one of my viewers has talked to me about this push drill, this Archimedes drill that I keep passing it up, and I've looked at it a couple of times, but it doesn't work right, and the wood is broken and there's no way to disassemble it properly to be able to fix it. So I have been passing that one up, but every so often I'll find some of these little treasures and you just wonder, you know, have I been overlooking this all this time, or is this guy bringing in new stuff, which is more than likely the case. But thanks so much for joining me on this. It was great to have you here as we go through some of these things and get these things cleaned up and put together. And as I find stuff that I forgot that I had, it's kind of crazy. We are really truly blessed to have so much, and just praise the Lord for it. Thank you for being here with me. Have a great day. God bless.